Okay, in Maripuri, I don't know if we finished that in Maribaba's place where he declared that he was the cognate of the age. And anyhow, I met some of the people there, including some of the boys that one day Baba got really angry because they bought this 7 boys and one of them pulled his leg out and Baba was leaving the place. And Baba just like to make fuss like that sometimes. I don't know if it was a form of entertainment, but it surely, for him, it wasn't, because he just wanted 100% love and obedience. This happens to be the year of 1956, and Baba issues a circular or a notice. And in it he said that 3 worlds of the world would be destroyed. So throughout many places throughout India, people that weren't that acquainted with Mera Baba, they had seen him physically and so on and so forth, they knew that he was just like saying something and he meant it. And so he got the news that especially in Hamirpur district, that the people from Hamirpur were going around and telling everybody throughout that whole district, plus including their families and all of that, that Mayor Baba said that soon 3/4 of the world would be destroyed. So Baba calls Bauji and he says to Bauji, now you are to go to Hamirpur district and announce to everyone that when I said that 3/4 of the world would be destroyed, I said it on my own language. And my own language and human language is totally different. So now you gotta go and tell the people in Hamirpur, especially in the Naranga side, and let everybody from Hamirpur district gather there. And Bauji doesn't know what to do because at that time he's never been a public speaker. So he tells Baba, I can't do that. I never talked anything. What should I say? What can I do? Those people are just gonna, I don't know what their reaction is gonna be. I says, you just go. So Baba goes to Naranga. Bauji goes to Naranga. And they put a pandal, everybody's waiting to hear the news about the destruction of the world and so on and so forth. And Bauji's stunned. He doesn't know what to say. He don't know how to begin. So he just starts this way. Sachitanand Paramanand Meher Baba Vidyanand Sachitanand Paramanand Meher Baba Vidyanand. And this continues. So the people, you probably know that story. So the people forget the 3/4 of the world, and Baba's love was so profound in these places that these places, all the people just started dancing in ecstasy, and they forgot the 3/4 of the world. So Bauji felt really extremely happy and then just left. At its appointed time, just left, and no questions, 0 questions about 3/4 of the world. So that was one great incident for Balpachuri, he didn't have to be a public speaker, just say anything. In any case, now we're in Naranga again. And Baba is getting ready to go to Ichora, which was a sacred village, according to him, because some very religious sadhus or mahatmas or whatever they are, they have lived in this, they made a cave on the top of the ground. There was a cave, And they did it all by hand, whomever did it, because I was long way before Mayor Baba, by hand. They carved the things and so on and so forth by hand. So it was quite interesting. And in those early days, the only thing was they had like a little gazebo, no more than 4.5 feet or 4 feet by maybe 6, 7, a big picture of Mayor Baba. Presently, there's the last time that I went to the inauguration of the the Ichora Center. But here's the story about Ichora. When Baba traveled with 52 bullock carts going to Ichora in those impassable days, because this is the furthest place from the universe. There's no train station there, there's no bus station, there's nothing in there, only bullock carts. So that was Baba's mode of travel, and headed in the direction of Ichora, which crosses the Betwa River. In this place, prior to his crossing of the river, there was a man. I don't remember his name, but I met his son. And he believed in Mayor Baba, that he was God in human form. This was the year of 1952. And Baba, of course, got on the little village, which was hardly a village, it's just some huts along the road and so on and so forth. And there was a man that had a son that was blind. So he asked Mayor Baba for his compassion and to heal his son of this sight. And Baba replied to him, I don't make any miracles. And says, Baba, I am pleading you. What will happen to my son? What will happen when he grows up? Nobody will marry him. He will never have a family. He'll be useless all his life, sitting in one place, not being able to see anything. And Baba thought. And he says, well, this remains to be seen. To finish up the story, when Baba went back in 54, the boy had regained his sight. And Baba was very upset with himself because he don't create any miracles. But everybody's life is a miracle, especially with him, That's the miracle of all miracles. If there is no miracles, that's better than raising the dead, because you can be with Baba for whatever length of time he chooses for you to be with. So anyhow, the bullock carts gets to the ready to cross the Betwa. And Mayor Baba gets off the bullock cart and he puts his foot or his feet on the Betwa River. And Baba said, this is the Ganges of the future. This is where people would come to get their liberation or mukti. They will travel far and wide from many places to this place called the Betwa, which was a river, and I went there a lot of times. I used to go swimming in there. Right alongside the Betwa, there's like some mountains, but they're not mountains like in America. They're like precipices, ravines, and so on, made out of hundreds of rocks everywhere. And in this place, according to the villagers, again, this is the place where the celestial beings live on earth, according to them. which I do believe what they say. And prior to that, the people of this Ichora heard the celestial songs throughout days and weeks, announcing the arrival of the Avatar. It's impossible for us to believe this. It really is. But to the villagers was a fact of life. And it still is until today. And Baba went to the little town of Ichora and stayed on a nice hut. Nice means, just a regular hut. And the Mandalis and other huts, and they had quite a few programs in there. It's impossible today, even by jeep, on a particular sense. It's very difficult to get there. But now it's more accessible because times have become modern. So Baba visited every home, and wherever Baba would sit, they would build that stone where Baba would sit. Wherever Baba would sit, they would build a memorial. A Mayor Baba was here, like everywhere else in India, that Baba would sit and give his darshan. In any case, the boy got his sight back. So that's one thing, and I met the boy when I went, probably the first time, and it was really difficult to get there, and even in modern times today it's difficult because it's in the middle of nowhere. So Baba visited the whole town, again a lot of Nigams and other names, Chaturs and so on and so forth, but mainly the Nigams. And then Baba left, and he spent the night on the Dharamshala, waiting for the train. And I've been trying to think of the name of this place, but I know it starts with a Nem, because I went there myself. But it doesn't arrive in my mind. But it starts with a Nem. It's not Mahoba. And I'll probably think about it while we're doing this, I hope so. So that's Mahoba, Ichora, sacred place by the Bedwa. And I went there with Mr. Sharma quite a few times, on my own quite a few times. One time I took 3 boys, Westerners, so I try not to travel with Westerners in the sense that they are a problem for me. They're a real problem. I only went there with Bob Underwood. Other than that, no more. And one time I tried to go with Jay Butt. First we went to Delhi, and then we head out to Hamirpur, and we were in Mirpuri. And it was so hot in Mirpuri that we had to sleep on top of a roof where they were still, the temple was under construction, and it wasn't until recently. It's a humongous place, huge, with a beautiful statue of Mayor Baba that I described already in Mirpuri. And then poor Jay, he got bitten by mosquitoes all night. The mosquito repellent doesn't work there. There's so many, and the heat. So he wakes me up, or in the morning he says, Tony, I gotta go back. I can't take this Hamirpur district. Please be sure that I get back immediately. I can't take this. I don't feel well, especially after Delhi. And Delhi is a beautiful place. On the sense that we stayed at the Mayor Baba Center in Delhi, and we had a cook, we gave her some money to go make the chapatis and this and that and the other. There's some of the things in there, so it doesn't make what kind of food you eat, but basically vegetarian as usual because the cooks were Hindus and they don't even like to touch eggs. And so that ends Ichora, sacred place. And the last time that I went to, my God, they had built, and I went there almost every year or two. 3 max that I mix, but I don't think any more than that. I don't think so because I used to go to their Mela that starts in November 10th until the 25th or 26th, and ends in Mayapuri, and then some people head out to Jhansi because it's the main train station, and they do visit the Bible lovers and they have a little Mela in Jhansi. But it's a transient place, not like when first Baba went. Then in Ichora, Dr. Chaturvedi had a friend, and it was a friend of Sharmaji's also, and it's coming from somewhere. Band is like about 100 kilometers from Hamirpur, and the doctor sees anyhow. Well, he sees us walking around, me and Shaligram Sharma, and he says, "Oh, Sharmaji, how are you?" And they begin a rapport. And he's from Jabalpur, the city of rocks, but it's a beautiful place where Baba, for the last time, took his book, The Marble Rocks, the book that nobody's heard of with the Weman Mandali, and he went on the launch because it's nothing but beautiful white marble. But maybe we'll get to Marble Rocks in Jabalpur, Baba's visit to Jabalpur, which is quite interesting, where he stayed and what transpired there and so on and so forth. I'll think of the name of the place that Baba stayed at. But that's another story that has nothing to do with Hamirpur. So he gives us a jeep. A jeep? Unheard of. To travel. And then we're supposed to deliver it back to him in Jabalpur. I was trying to think of the name of the doctor. It'll come out, but I haven't been thinking about it too long. Right, I met him, and he was really a good friend of the Chaturvedis and Sharmaji and all that. So we got a jeep at our disposal. I just want to tell you a funny story about Jabalpur. For some reason, that we returned the jeep to, he was a professor of literature, and he came from the same place that the Professor Hasra had come from, Jabalpur. Professor Hasra was a very interesting character too. So we run out of gas on the way to the airport, which is about an hour. I don't remember the length of time. So to get the petrol in there, or the gas, is a heck of a time. So we finally arrive at the airport, and the plane is ready to take off. It's a small plane that for only maybe 10 people, or so, I don't know, it's just a small little plane. So we try to flag them down and run in there and tell them, please don't let the plane leave, there's 2 passengers, because we never went by land. I never traveled by land. I mean, in those far out jungles and stuff like that, but it becomes interesting. Sorry, sir, it's impossible. The guy's taking off and all the motors are going up. The plane takes off, and what transpires to the plane, he gets into an accident. Never arrives at his next destination. Isn't that how Baba takes care of us? That's why I mentioned that. I mean, you talk about the miracle of the boy's eyes. Talk about this miracle. That is beyond the miracle of miracles, because Bob extends your life for many, I suppose. But that's him, because he's the universal mind. So in this Jeep from Banda, we decided to travel through Hamirpur district, and we went through the district. And now there's the northern part of the district where Baba had gone to Cirila, Surul, and Gundula. Nobody's heard of these places, not one Baba lover, because it's not written anywhere. So we head out to Cirila. Well, when we arrive there, there's a procession for men. Baba had went to these places, huh? No, we went to Murilli. And in this place, there's a sacred tree, a big tree, one of those big white 15-foot trees from India or whatever, with the stones on around it, and places of prayer, where people go in there, and pictures of all the Hindu gods and some guru, God knows what. But they have a funny habit to have their meetings at night. And at night means like 11 or 12 at night. So we have to stay up, because Sharmaji gets up and says some things. I'm just watching the audience. And some other guy, says, this is an American boy, maybe he'll give the speech, he will, But we let the speaker come on. So there was a guy that was fairly well known in Cirul, around that area, that he was well spoken. But what happened? Nobody listened to him. Everybody fell asleep. And the people were snoring and snoring and snoring and snoring. And everybody fell asleep because of the time of the night. And I'm going, oh, gee whiz, this is incredible, And Sharmaji also falls asleep, because he's got his habit of doing something, with the Meher Bakar press every night. But this time, when we're traveling, he doesn't dedicate his time to him. So he's also out there, You don't snore loud, you don't snore, but the rest of it, throughout Baba's talk, is that was a funny thing. Next morning, we have the tea, the vegetable chapatis, so on and so forth, and we go. As Shalagram would say, let's proceed immediately. That was one of his favorites when he had to go. Let's proceed. He wouldn't say let's go. Let's proceed immediately. Like he proceeded immediately the last time I saw him, because he passed away. So me and Yuki have a way of joking about let's proceed immediately. Anyhow, so we go to Cirila by Jeep. And again, they're going to have meetings in the evening time, but not as late. So what happens is when we arrive there, it's way up there in the district. No side. There's a procession for Mayor Baba going on. And I have the video camera. The old video cameras. And the kids, they just love to be videoed, and everybody loves to be videoed. And oh my God, it was a fun procession, because they had Baba like with two big bicycle wheels, and some boys, pushing them from the front, and some people from the back, and everybody singing Baba songs according to their Hindi language and Sachitanand and so on and so forth. It was fun. A lot of fun to go in that procession. It was incredible. How did they put a picture of Baba and a little in a place that nobody's heard of? And they have the procession. And anyhow, it was a beautiful, beautiful journey. And I don't know because it's not said anywhere. And Sharmaji, which is, I guess, a mentalist, videographer of Baba's life, he just told me of some incidents. But that was so long ago and I didn't have the videotape. So, we go to Gundula. Again, people are getting ready for the procession and the whole town. There's like maybe 1,000, 2,000 max, but big peoples. When you get them all together with the old houses, with a little thing for their water that comes like that and so on and so forth, and really interesting, really far out and interesting place because it's in the middle of nowhere. And you can only access that by bull carts or by a jeep that can take the roads. And it's still in there. So I plan to go back when I go back to Cirilla, Gundula, and Suril, just to see what the heck is there. But again, they're going to have their talk at night, right? And it's a beautiful night. Oh my gosh, with a full moon in India, and the moon just feels like it's right on top of you. In this rural place in the middle of nowhere, and they making the different chapatis and veggies and all this stuff, and everybody's in for the sumptuous feast, and then they begin to sing Baba songs and dance with joy. As they were dancing in the procession, everybody dances with joy in every one of those processions, and I went to tons and tons of it. So that was a great joy for me, And then, again, the talk and the little pandal. I don't know what time it was, but everybody's it was a journey and a half. Why does people have the habit of having their late Baba talks? I don't have a clue. But it never interested me that until recently when I thought about it. So that was Cirilla, Gundula, and Suril. But it was funny that people just were snoring through it, especially you can even hear them where me and Sharma stayed on top of a room because everybody went to the talk. Can you imagine 100 people or 200 or 300 just going all night? That was fun. Well, that concludes, but besides that, Nyan Sharmaji passed through so many places throughout Hamirpur that were so interesting, where Baba temporarily just stayed for 15, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. He stopped the car, and or his motor travel, But the funny thing is that he did so many things to sanctify Hamirpur. Because that's what I call that his heart. So I advise anyone that if you want to go to Baba's heart, go to Hamirpur, regardless of what transpires, but you will not go through the hardships that you used to go through there. Now I'll tell you one story about Gustaji Hansiota, because it's kind of related to this, in a sense. It's not written on the book. Angustache Hanciota was from Indore, which is a nice city, yeah? With colleges and many things. So I went through Indore many times. They even got an airport, a nice airport. You can fly from Pune to Indore. But I always travel in that direction going towards Hamirpur most of the time. Two ways. You go through Indore area or you go through the Jhansi side. So you can take your pick. You wind up in Chora or in Jhansi. One of the two. And there's a distance apart, and Baba's heart is throughout this whole entire Hamirpur district. And there's really a lot of beautiful history, especially in Jhansi, about the Maharani of Jhansi. Interesting. But those are historical characters. In any case, that sort of tells you about Mayor Baba's Hamirpur district. Now, I think in the next sessions, I don't know how much time we got left. 20 minutes? Yeah. Maybe we'll do Baba's family, starting with Shariarj and Shireen, and then into Mayor Baba's own family, most especially Mani, and Mani's family and Baba's house, and the pumpkin house. And that is more or less like my comment with now thinking with the perfect masters. And I'll start with the most interesting to me, you know, to the fantastic one. So the fantastic one was the person that gave God realization to Mayor Babajan. And her travels throughout different parts of India, where she came from, how she was raised, how many journeys she made to the Taj, how she settled in different places like Rawalpindi and so on and so forth. And eventually she manages her way to Pune. And I think that most people are acquainted with very few stories of Babajan, especially the one about the Baluchi soldiers that buried her alive. In Baluchistan, it was a regiment, I'll skip a few stories that are interesting, okay? Since we got a little time. And the Baluchis heard this man, this woman, singing or saying out loud, I am the creator of the universe. I created one and all things. And these Baluchi soldiers were quite outraged. So they dug a pit and buried her alive. Years later, the Baluchistan regiment is passing through Pune. And there's Babajan. She's said to live from 129 through 135 years of age. And unfortunately, which I'm going to ask, but I can never get a hold of Elaine Miller, that on all the treasures that I gave her, all I want is Babajan's button that belonged to Mayor Baba himself. A real Babajan button. And Baba, I had so many collectibles of Mayor Baba, it took me 2 suitcases to give him to Dr. Jim or James Miller. That's all I can tell you. I know that Baba Sadras and sacred things like that, along with Sheila Kerensky, they had them preserved, and they sent them to New York to be preserved with some chemicals, or I don't know how they do that process, but that's there, you know. So I hope that I get my Baba Jump button back. That's all I want. Well, let's go to Jabalpur then. I won't make it too long because we're running out of time. Jabalpur was a beautiful place in the middle of nowhere. But there's a main station, and it's on the northern side, and I'm trying to think of the station, but I will eventually. And then you go by taxi to Jabalpur. And they do have a railway station presently, but it's nice to travel by car to a place called Marble Rocks on the Narmada River. And you see Baba washing his hands on the Narmada River. So there was, at that point in time, quite a few Baba lovers. So I went to visit different houses with Sharmaji and all of that. And BJ Baldekar, the person that worked for the ammunition company, lived in this place. And now his name used to be BJ Meshram, but he changed his name to Baldekar. And here's a very interesting Baba story. Anyhow, his father, which I met, used to live on top of the house. And he had a little cubicle no more than 3 foot high, about this high, and about 5 or 6 feet long. That was where he lived. And he related to me because I went into his uncomfortable place. And I met him, Mr. Baldekar at the time. Was it? I don't know. It was Baldekar, the first one, yeah. Okay. And he said that he wanted to meet God in the human form. So he would praise God and he would say, Baba, not Baba, God, if you come this age in time, I want to meet you, and I want to meet you naked. Naked, that means no clothes. Interesting Baba story, yeah? So then Baba goes to Jabalpur, where there were some really interesting Baba lovers, all characters. One guy that had a few Baba things, you know, received by Baba, and a bunch of Baba books, all the old books, and really characters, you know. I mean, this place was full of characters. So we went to the Narmada River even to measure the distance where, just before the rocks. Anyhow, that's another little story that comes after this one. This is not rehearsal written down, like hardly anything. In any case, Mr. Baldekar hears that there's one that calls himself Mir Baba that has declared he's God in human form. So he goes to the darshan business, looks at Baba from a distance, and is wondering. So there was notes in those days of people that took Baba's darshan and so on and so forth. And Mr. Baldekar, he says, I'd like to see Mir Baba. Well, they give Baba the message. where he lives and so on and so forth. And the man says, no, we're leaving pretty soon. I don't know whether this will happen or not. So Baba calls for him. So there's Mr. Baldekar. And he gets to spend a night there. Has his nice dinner and gets to sleep with the rest of the mandali, and he gets up and he goes to take his shower. So in the middle of the shower, Eric bangs on the door. Baba wants to see you immediately. Well, but I'm not dressed. He says right now, and you must go right now. So he goes to see Mer Baba naked. But he's forgetting about his nakedness. How he always asks God that if he should meet him, he wanted to be, as he came into the world, naked. Anyhow, he gets Baba's darshan. I don't know if he got embraced or not. And Baba tells him to go after his time. I don't think I've ever heard anybody mention that story, including B.J. Baldekar, or he used to be Meshram. He used to work at the ammunition factory that blew up one time where one of the twins went to, Baba sent them to Bombay and his shift blew up. I don't know if anybody knows any of the stories, man. But we'll get to Baba's family next. That's more interesting. And my acquaintances with them, and then we'll head out to Andhra Pradesh. Or I really like to do Tajuddin Baba. We don't have too many sessions, so I don't know how to compact all of this, because Tajuddin Baba's place is beyond the imagination of a human being. The only thing that I tell you about this place right now, because we might have like 4 or 5 minutes, is that Tajuddin Baba used to go by the river banks and sing the verses of the Quran, because he was Muslim. And Tajuddin means the crown of Islam, the father of the crown of Islam. That's the meaning of Tajuddin Baba, like the Taj Mahal crown. In any case, what transpired there, wherever he would sit, the rocks themselves, rock, I'm talking about a rock. A rock is a rock, like the Colorado rocks. They form the verses of the Quran. And nowadays, they have the verses of the Quran that cannot be carved by hand or anything like that, with some silvery spray on it, all the way around it, and red spray. And half silver, half reddish. You can see the verses of the Quran all over the place. Can you imagine these things happen on ground? And I'm going to call this guy and see if he sends me my DVD now. The guy in Nashville, North Carolina. Because people should see this. Because nobody ever goes to Tajuddin Baba's. It's so far out of the way. And the things that transpire with Tajuddin Baba, which are beyond the comprehension of the mind. I even took pictures where his cell was a big cell, maybe 60 feet long, with the inmates of the institution inside of him. And they were very docile, not like people that were nutty than fruitcake, like the rest. Because when you go into the mental asylum in Nagpur, it has a big sign that says, Nagpur Mental Asylum, no cameras allowed. And I got away with murder there because I know, or I knew how to manipulate the system with a camera. So I think we're out of time, but it's really interesting, the Nagpur stuff, huh?